Imagine a virus that could turn humans into zombies, creatures that lose control of their bodies and behave in terrifying ways. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. But recently, the internet has been flooded with headlines about so called zombie viruses. And some reports claim that scientists have discovered ancient viruses buried in ice that could come back to life. This raises a fascinating question: do zombie viruses actually exist? To answer this, we first need to understand what scientists mean when they use the term zombie virus. In reality, the phrase does not refer to viruses that turn people into zombies like in movies. Instead, it refers to ancient viruses that have remained dormant for thousands of years and can potentially become active again under certain conditions. One reason this topic has gained attention is because of research conducted in Arctic and Siberian regions. Scientists studying permafrost, soil that has remained frozen for thousands of years, have discovered ancient microorganisms trapped in the ice. When researchers thawed some of these samples in controlled laboratory environments, they found that certain viruses were still capable of infecting cells even after being frozen for tens of thousands of years. These discoveries led to the nickname zombie viruses because the viruses appear to come back to life after being dormant for extremely long periods of time. However, it is important to understand that these viruses are not turning people into zombies. The name is simply a dramatic way to describe dormant microbes that become active again when environmental conditions change. One of the main concerns scientists have about ancient viruses involves climate change. As global temperatures rise, large areas of permafrost in the Arctic are beginning to thaw. This thawing process can release microorganisms that have been trapped in ice for thousands or even millions of years. Most of these microorganisms are harmless, but some could potentially be unknown viruses that modern humans have never encountered before. Researchers study these ancient microbes in highly controlled laboratories to better understand their properties. By analyzing their genetic material and behavior, scientists can determine whether they pose any potential risk to humans, animals, or ecosystems. So far, the viruses that have been revived from ancient ice have mainly infected simple organisms such as amoebas rather than humans. Another reason the zombie virus concept captures public imagination is because of certain diseases that affect animal behavior in unusual ways. For example, there are parasites and viruses that can influence how infected hosts behave. One well-known example is the rabies virus, which affects the nervous system and can cause aggression and unusual behavior in infected animals and humans. However, even in these cases, the infection does not create zombies in the fictional sense, it simply alters neurological function. There are also parasites found in insects that can manipulate behavior. Some fungal parasites infect ants and control their movements before eventually killing them. Because the infected ants appear to behave like zombies, these organisms are sometimes described as zombie fungi. But again, this phenomenon is very different from the zombie outbreaks portrayed in movies. In reality, creating a virus that could turn humans into true zombies would be extremely unlikely from a biological perspective. Human behavior and brain function are incredibly complex. A virus would have to precisely control large parts of the brain while keeping the body alive and functional, which is extraordinarily difficult. Most viruses instead cause disease by damaging cells, triggering immune responses, or disrupting normal biological processes. Severe infections may cause neurological symptoms, but they do not produce the dramatic zombie-like transformations seen in fiction. The idea of zombie viruses is therefore mostly a mix of real science and exaggerated storytelling. Ancient viruses can indeed remain frozen for thousands of years and potentially become active again when thawed. Scientists take this possibility seriously and study it carefully to understand any potential risks. However, there is currently no evidence that such viruses could create a zombie apocalypse. What the research really highlights is the importance of monitoring environmental changes and studying emerging pathogens. As climate change alters ecosystems and exposes previously hidden microorganisms, scientists must remain vigilant in identifying new biological threats. In conclusion, zombie viruses as portrayed in movies do not exist. The term is simply a nickname for ancient viruses that can become active after being frozen for long periods of time.